I've still time to put my pants on.
All right. Yeah, let me know when everybody's dressed and we'll start, okay? All right, and I'm your host, Stephen Vanover, here on the Sports TalkLine Network, where we talk sports 24/7, 365. This is the Round Room, and these are all the wonderful guests we have here today as we work around. We've got Spinksy from down under. We're not going to say exactly where because it could be serious later. And you can find him on Twitter at SpinkyNFL. And of course, we have the man bringing all the pain, the man with no remorse. You can find him on Twitter at No Remorse Sports, Nate Dowdy. And then we also have Mr. Tom McAllister in the danger zone itself. New York Giants, New York, bringing it, holding down the East Coast. You can find him on Twitter at defends_com. And before we get started, let's do the deed. Hit that subscribe button, hit that little bell, reshare it all over the social media platforms. This is the Roundtable, and we're going to start it around the room with what I think could be a somewhat provocative subject. And Tom, I'm going to hit you up first because, New York Giants, that's in your wheelhouse. And there was a recent interview where the new Giants head coach was questioned about Jason Garrett and what type of offense should he expect. And he's like, pretty much the offense that they're running in Dallas the last few years. All right. What do you think about that? Is that a good thing? Is that a bad thing? And more importantly, why would you hire a coach? I think it's a stupid question. Why would you hire an offensive coach that you wanted them to change what they're doing?
I think in this situation, one of the reasons why they hired Jason Garrett is you have Joe Judge, relatively young head coach. He's late 30s, never even was a coordinator. So I think it was a smart move to bring someone who has head coaching experience and also is able to run and have offensive scheme. Because, Jason Garrett was brought in by Jerry Jones. He was the heir apparent to the Dallas Cowboys head coaching position. He was granted that. He had great regular season success in many seasons. He just could not carry that in the postseason. But you kind of saw with the free agent signings the Giants did. On the skill size of the balls, you got to look at it. Okay, wide receiver and core, they got Golden Tate. They have Sterling Shepard. Darius Slayton was a steal for the 5th round last year, had a great rookie season. You have Saquon Barkley when healthy. He's in the argument for being the top running back in the league. They significantly upgraded the offensive line in the draft. So I think that's going to be the major issue. If they upgrade the offensive line and Barkley can run and also throw in Evan Engram and they have those multiple tight ends, there's a lot of things you can do. And also Daniel Jones is a mobile quarterback unlike Eli Manning. So that's going to be a threat that people haven't seen going forward. But I still think, the offensive scheme is you need the development of that offensive line. Giant fans have been waiting for the offensive line to develop since they won the Super Bowl in 2011. Nate, I see you're ready to jump in on this.
You knew too well. To elaborate on that point, it really is going to come down to the learning curve of the offensive line. Jason Garrett's offense has a lot of 5 to 7 step drops deep in the pocket there. And if you go in with the talent you had the year before, there's no way you could get off the ground.
Right.
Really. And with Saquon Barkley,
you could get on the ground, though. You could get on the ground.
He'll be on the ground.
But not off. Not off. Okay.
Yeah. But Saquon Barkley also has his struggles as a blitz picking up the blitz at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Another issue is Jason Garrett's offense is not a scheme-driven offense. It's a talent-based offense. So essentially, you're not going to see guys open. You're basically going to go a mano, and you're going to see if you have the hosses to go beat the guy across from you. Do the Giants have that talent right now? I'm not quite sure.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think they have the guy to scare them really deep down the field. Saquon Barkley, I expect him to have a big year. My biggest problem with Jason Garrett is that the trend of the league seems to be nowadays to throw on first and second downs, where Jason Garrett is still in love with football from 1993, where you hand the ball off twice and you set you up with 3rd and 8. So It's really going to come down to if the Giants have the hosses on offense, because the Cowboys did, and that's why you saw the success they had, at least through the regular season. Tom.
I think, you bring up a good point, and I'm going to bring up a name that we haven't brought up yet, which is Dave Gettleman. And Gettleman is big on establishing the run and all that, and that could be the reason why he bought in Jason Garrett, and Gettleman kind of got defensive when they're like, oh, it's a passing league. And Gettleman pointed out the top rushing teams were in the playoffs, So I know Spinksy is chomping at the bit to chime in.
Oh, we were just going to skip Spinksy this one because I know he finds it a boring subject. That probably has nothing to say about. Well, I don't know. Could you come up with at least one thing to say, Spinks?
Yeah, look, I'll be really nice here. The Giants are a joke of a franchise. Their owner, their GM, they're jokes, all of them. And now they've hired the biggest joke there is in Jason Garrett. It is so funny. The only reason Garrett is there is for inside info on the Cowboys. That's it. Yes, they improved their O-line immensely in this draft. They will be so strong this year going forward. Their wide receivers are too old or injured, always. The Giants have got one move. Give the ball to Saquon. The guys in front of him hold up the line. Saquon runs through and scores. That is the Giants' move all year, I guarantee it. Daniel Jones.
And can't Jason Garrett run that offense, though?
He can run that offense. Yeah. Daniel Jones won't throw for any more than 1,000 yards. I guarantee it. Nate?
Well, another point about Daniel Jones, and it's going to come a lot to his learning curve as well, because I think Pro Football Focus rated him the highest last year when it came to holding on to the football and taking unnecessary sacks.
Yeah.
That can be corrected, however. But a lot of people just assume people are going to take that jump into a second year. It's possible that he makes up for that. And so I think it's going to be the learning curve of the offensive line and Daniel Jones not taking unnecessary sacks. Van.
Yeah, you brought up a really great stat, and it's what I'm aware of. And he built up such a lead in that stat early in his season. There was no way he was going to lose it by the end of the season. But he did get a lot better. The game started slowing down for him, and he stopped holding the ball as long. That was already improving. It's a great observation, but he's already there. But guys, anybody can come back on this. I'm just going to throw some stuff out for you there, man. I mean, everybody wants to laugh at the Jason Garrett offense, and I think that's hilarious because it's like the Brady versus Belichick conversation. Is it Brady? Is it Belichick? Is the problem Jason Garrett or is it Jerry Jones? I say the problem was Jerry Jones, and this season's going to prove it. The number one offense in the league last year, as far as yardage, was the Dallas Cowboys, and he's run this offense several times successfully while he's been there. He understands how to run a power offense, which is kind of weird because back in the day it was Landry with the complicated offense and then Lombardi with the simple offense, and now it's reversed, man. I mean, now the Packers play a pretty wide open kind of style and stuff, and in Dallas it's been this simple offense, but now that's all going to change again because the Packers offense is going to be in Dallas maybe. But Nate, how do you respond to that? I mean, his stats are undeniable. My thing is, I say that the ownership's meddlement is what caused him his problems in the playoff, not nothing else.
Well, I think a lot of it was decision making that he won't have to make as an offensive coordinator.
It's going to help. So, that'll help too.
So at the same time as well.
He had some game management gaps, remember? I mean, he basically kind of solved them, but if he's not having to worry about that allows him to focus more on what he does. And don't forget, back in the day, guys, everybody was after Jason Garrett. They had to give him assistant head coach status to stop other teams from signing him away. He was the man. And then when he took over the offense was clicking. What happened was those game management issues popped up and they were losing game. The offense would be number one in yardage, top 5 in scoring, and number 1 in choking.
Yeah, well, also a little bit to go over when Jason Garrett was in demand. He had an outstanding start to his 2007 season. That was his first season. Then that's when he was in demand. That demand almost universally went away after his next 2 seasons as head coach. Dallas gave him the opportunity, and he had kind of mixed results. Listen, I think they have the possibility to really get some good product out of their offense next season.
Oh, I do too.
They have certain players clicking, and it's going to depend on the learning curve they have of certain players.
Well, that's always true, though.
Dallas led the league in yards was because they had such poor production from their defense when it came to turnovers and special teams. I think you should probably expect them to be better than 16 turnovers next season and have better special teams, considering the fact that Judge was a special teams coach himself. Tom?
I think when you talk about the Giants offense, they already got Saquon Barkley. They might have to run a Bill Parcells type offense where it's based off ball control, because the Giants defense, they're a franchise that when they're good, they have a dominant pass rusher. They haven't had this year coming in, they don't have that dominant pass rusher that keeps other teams' offensive coordinators up at night. So if you're looking at it as Joe Judge, as the head coach, you got to be like, listen, we need to be a smash mouth offense this year. Keep the opposing offense on the sideline where they can't hurt us. We got Saquon Barkley. And Saquon Barkley, he's the home run hitter where he can get 75 yards a game and 64 on one carry. So it's almost like he needs to be the grinded out running back to be successful. Now, Van, I know you want to jump in on this.
On that subject particularly, because I've got that down on my list here to bring up. And this was what I think is the biggest weak point of bringing Jason Garrett in there. All right. First of all, he has this great connection with the New York Giants organization that a lot of people may not be aware of. Him and the Mara family go way back. So they like having him in there. I mean, and he was with the Giants before. I mean, that's not a problem. He fits in the Giants organization. They like him. But personnel, I love their personnel. I think that they need a ball control, power running offense, which is what he knows how to run. But what we're talking about here is Saquon Barkley. And as Nate pointed out earlier, he has the same qualities. Now, he didn't use this term, I am. He is so Barry Sanders-esque. He is a home run hitter. That guy couldn't pick up a blitz pickup if you paid him all the tea in China. It's not in his nature, man. He just can't see it. It's not out there. And if he can't figure out how to be a reliable back and get X number of yards almost every time, instead of being Barry Sanders, where it's either -4 or 88, that could be a problem. What do you think, Spink?
Look, as you were saying earlier, the Cowboys had the #1 offense last year, but they also had some incredible offensive weapons, whereas the Giants don't have those weapons. Yes, they've got Sterling Shepard there, they've got Golden Tate, but Tate's getting old now. And yes, I understand Tate has his moments every few games where he'll go for 100, 150, but he can't do that consistently. Whereas the Cowboys have got multiple of those on the park always. As a Cowboys fan, half of us, or 3 of us here would know, it's the frustrating things that Garrett would do. It's the things that you do on 3rd down or 4th down, or it was the old school mentality. What's stopping him from bringing that to the Giants and making them just as average as the Cowboys were with him? Tom, well, how do you feel?
I think too, this is where he gets to be overrated by the head coach, Joe Judge. And this is something where, you're going to find very quickly. I think I'll make a prediction, because I think some people already made a prediction for the 2020 NFL season, and they had the New York Giants going 2-14, putting them in line for the #1 draft pick. If that happens, Dave Gettleman is as good as gone. But they'll keep Joe Judge. That's what I think. I think Judge is someone, he's young. We'll give him an opportunity. And who knows? He might become general manager.
Yeah.
Nate, how do you feel?
Wait. I got to say this, Tom. Is he as good as gone, or is he as good as God? Because then you turn around and you get yourself a Trevor Lawrence. You get sunshine coming to the New York State or the New Jersey state of mind. Wouldn't that be a stroke of brilliance?
Well, I mean, let me answer this question, though, because you want to know what the Giants would do then? They'll probably trade Daniel Jones away. if they do that. And if Gettleman's gone, if Gettleman is gone, I think it's more likely that, whoever comes in after him, be like, no, we're going to grab Trevor Lawrence, use Saquon Barkley, and take off. Spinksy, how do you feel?
Honestly think your head coach in Joe Judge, I think if he went 0-16 the next 3 years, I think you'd still actually keep him, because I think he's got a good future. He's young, he's talented, he knows what he's going to do going forward, but you need to give those guys a chance. And I think having Garrett working there with him too will teach him a lot more. Whereas, as you said, Gettleman's gone. If this doesn't work, Gettleman's done. But yeah, Joe Judge certainly has a future there or somewhere else, definitely.
It's going to be fun. So, guys, let's wrap this up as we move it around the room, okay? Let's make our predictions right here. Rate the NFC East offenses, best to worst, for the 2020 season. Yeah, Spinksy, you're up.
We'll go Cowboys, the Redskins, everyone else, then the Eagles and the Giants.
Wow, all right. You had the Redskins over. I think it's really the division's a 2-horse race between the Cowboys and Eagles. I take Cowboys 1, Eagles 2. I take the Giants over the Redskins.
Haskins is there this year.
Yeah, me too. And I could almost go one further. Almost. I'm wrapped up because I actually see the Eagles offense falling off the rails this season.
Hey, could be. I mean,
I think no one here would be upset if that happens.
No. We don't. And my logic behind that is simply that your team, your unit, whatever, it reflects leadership. Unless you have those good leaders on defense, your defense is not going to get better. And if you don't have a really good leader at the top, your offense is not going to get better. And I don't think Wentz is a good leader.
And they already got his replacement too. That's going to be the storyline.
Yeah, man. I mean, so it's there. Okay. So Tom, you got the last prognostication.
I agree with Nate. I kind of think probably.
No, you can't do that. Sorry. No.
I know it's the first time it's ever happened.
Way to go,
but I think definitely Cowboys. They got the most talent. They definitely underachieved last year. I got to go with the Eagles. I think their wide receivers will be a lot healthier. Once we'll see what happens. Third, I'll go with the Giants, just because, they got Saquon Barkley. They have the home run threat. Washington, they got Haskins. And it's kind of like, you got to wonder, is the franchise committed to him? And then is there really anyone on offense from the Redskins that you're afraid of?
I don't think that anybody here would argue that the Redskins should be committed. To what is the question?
Yeah, right. An institution.
All right. Well, hey, man, let's move this around a little bit, Nate. And, we're going to stick with the light subjects, light fare, light topic, nothing that's going to upset anybody. So, Nate, you want to talk about the new Rooney Rule, right?
Yeah, well, there's a new Rooney Rule that they actually did pass, and then there was the one that they were going to deliberate earlier this afternoon. And the one that they were deliberating that they absolutely shelved was going to be compensation as far as the third round if you were to hire a minority coach. Instead, they shelved that, and today they're adding they're requiring teams for a head coaching vacancy that you required to hire interview 2 minorities and 1 possible coordinator. Now, to you guys out there, is this a step forward, or is it kind of either walking and you're sinking in quicksand here, or is this a step backwards?
Yeah, look, I wrote an article on this about an hour ago. And so once our editor gets his finger out and sticks it up, it'll be on the Sports TalkLine website. So definitely look for that shortly. I think there's been a bit of a stalemate the last couple of seasons. There's only 4 current head coaches that are of African-American descent. And I think that it takes a lot. I've always been a fan of you hire someone because they're the best at the job. If they're female, if they're male, if they're African-American, they're Asian, they're young, that they're old. If you know what you are doing and you are the best candidate for that job, you get the job. It's not about race or color or sexism or anything else, or where you grew up or where you came from. You are the best at the job. That's what you get. So I think having the rule there that you have to hire that you have to interview two is going to help with that. But if there's not good enough people out there of color or of race or whatever, then they won't get the job. So you can have all the laws in place that you want, but if you're not good enough to get it, then you shouldn't get it. Tom, how do you feel, mate? Do you think I'm just stupid?
I think, you know, when you look at the Rooney Rule, totally understand why that was implemented in the NFL, and it did allow many minorities to get opportunities that weren't there. But over the years, they kind of have regressed with the amount of minority coaches and executives. The New York Giants used to have Jerry Reese as their general manager. So if you have a head coach that's a minority for, you know, you get another extra third round pick. So that can happen multiple times in multiple seasons, depending on how they are. And I think there could be ways where you could structure it where, you know, if you have an executive, okay, I think head coach, I can totally understand that's pretty clear. But every organization, every NFL team has a different power structure. You know, sometimes it's the general manager, sometimes it's the vice president of football operations or president, sometimes it's the owner. You know, so you could almost prop someone up, be like, oh, you know, they're our general manager, but someone else is really calling the shots, and a team could be taking advantage of the rule. So like playing devil's advocate, I can definitely see someone taking advantage of the rule, but there needs to be something to try to get more minority coaches, give them the opportunity going forward, and maybe have some transition program for players that have just retired and get them introduced to coaching or something and keep them related into the game. I think that's something that would help out tremendously.
Yeah, I was just going to bring up that. Listen, we, despite all the PC nonsense, all men are not created equal. We are not equals, first and foremost. However,
some of us are more equal than others.
Yeah, right. Anyway, you can either approach this two ways. There is equality of outcomes, which basically means you don't care about meritocracy whatsoever. You just care about your bottom line in the optics, which in this case would be 90% plus of coaches in the league being minorities. Or you could approach this by being equality of opportunity. And that's where meritocracy still is key, but you're making sure everybody is getting equal opportunities. And with that at the same time, we're kind of doubling down on something we admitted just isn't working. So you could add 15 names to that list. It's not going to make a difference if someone views it as kind of something they have to hurdle before making a hire. I like kind of Tom's idea. My idea, it's strictly kind of straightforward in my eyes. You get X players, you prioritize them in some sort of academy, or you get them in some sort of a paid internship with an organization. It gets them around different owners of the leagues, gets them comfortable in organizations. So you have that face-to-face that you normally wouldn't have had with other owners before. You get comfortable with them. You get comfortable around different decision makers through the league. And that's how you get more people hired, not by bribing them.
Yeah, and like as you guys were saying, you have 20 or 30. You have 20 or 30 people to look at, but unless they're comfortable with doing their job, then you're not going to hire them. Having that academy and sort of teaching them and getting them in and making sure every team has one or two in the front office and they're learning how to be an OC or a DC, whatever. That's the way forward. There's a young lady at the moment, Katie Sowers. She's the assistant OC with the 49ers. Right. She'll be OC. A couple of years, she'll be OC. A couple after that, she'll be head coach somewhere. And so that's she's worked her way up through the system. So I think, as you guys are saying, having a program there where you can kind of grow them with your franchise rather than being forced to hire one, I think that's ridiculous. So, Fan, how do you feel?
Well, everybody makes great points individually, and that's the mistake that a lot of people make when they look at this situation. This is a universal problem, not just within the NFL, but all across America and the different aspects of our society. And life is messy, man. There is no perfect answer. There isn't. It's a problem. Okay, it's not like somebody made an addition error. No, there is a endemic systemic problem. Over 68% of the players in the NFL are black. 68. Okay. Now, before the Rooney Rule and any of that stuff, there was 0 head coaches ever black. Okay, so the Rooney Rule is doing something. Now, is it working as intended? It did for a little while, but now it's gone back, and that's why they're looking at it and everything. Here's what we know: not doing something is the only surefire way to make it worse. Okay, and there just is not a perfect response. Now, the academies you guys were talking about, they killed those in 2017, and instead they still have the thing where they bring the college coaches up and they work with them, but they're bringing up mostly the white college coaches. That's how Jimmy Johnson, he was with the Cowboys for 4 years with Landry in Dallas right before he made that transition. I actually thought he was going to be the next head coach in Dallas. I just didn't think it was going to. I had no idea about Jerry Jones. But they've got all of these things, and what the owners want to do is they want to solve it without using any money. Okay, they want to say, okay, how about a draft pick? That doesn't cost us shit. And by the way, Nate, bribery, that America gets by on bribery, man.
Well, that's essentially what that is. I mean, if you're saying you get to jump up, it's a bribe.
Absolutely. Tom,
in this situation, I can literally see within 3 or 4 years of this rule being impacted, every team has a minority general manager, just so they can pick. I can see it being taken advantage of.
Yeah,
absolutely. And just like, this person is the general manager, blah, blah, blah. And it's,
again, there is no perfect solution, but let's say that there's 10 general managers that end up being put in that way. 4 of them are going to be total faceplates. Okay, just total. But then there'll be 6 of them that will actually be doing a job and be getting the ball rolling. I like your guys' academy idea a lot, creating that scenario, but you still have to create quotas, man. We have found throughout the history of America, unless you've got the quotas.
Yeah, the PC police will attack you if you don't have.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, 100%. That's true, too. So, I mean, there is no good answer here. I think we can all agree on that, yeah?
Well, yeah, and that's kind of the problem is I don't necessarily, if you don't prioritize, if you have the academies for X and you prioritize X players, the majority of the people entering those academies will be black just by odds. But if you're not getting the results that the minority committee is wanting, you're going to hear more and more situations like the bribery that they're trying to pass through.
Yeah, that's the way it works. Yep. Yeah, Tom, what you got, man?
And I think, NFL coaching, unlike any, or being a general manager, unlike any other professional sport, it's not like all of a sudden you retire and then you become a head coach or you become a general manager. You got to build your way up, and I think they got to gain I think it's important to also have successful minority coaches and executives.
Hugely, and that's what Nate was alluding to, I believe, was doing.
And it's like have them work their way up, and as slowly you kind of see, if that slowly builds them in the ranks, I think that will eventually lead to more parity. Yes,
right.
Nate.
You improve the entire ecosystem of coaching and executives. It's not just a
black. I agree. But you have to do it with the black players, man. You have to. Right. Or actually, not even the black players. Excuse me. Minority players, minority races, diversity, however you want to word that. Yeah, Tom?
Would you open up like a program for women to kind of come in and work their way up? Because that's kind of something that could happen. Spinksy, how do you feel about that, opening up certain opportunities to allow women to gain positions in the NFL?
We can't leave out the little people either now.
Okay? Yeah, right.
I think it's fantastic, mate. I think trying to bring more women to the game in general, like even just as fans of the game. I I dated a girl for a few years, and she hated sport, and I love everything about sport, every single sport imaginable. And I dated her for 3 years, and I was shocked that someone doesn't actually like sport. And so that kind of made me help to sort of grow her relationship with sport. So if we can get more women to games and more women involved in coaching Pee Wee football and high school games and stuff like that, that's where you start.
Oh, 100%.
But yeah, it is kind of funny, the double standard that we do have, though, because we have zero problem with lack of diversity on the field. Zero. Exactly. You know, I mean, if we were to play the exact same double standard, then you would get a third jump up in the third round for drafting a Guatemalan cornerback.
Yeah.
But, you know, I mean, there's a whole lack of representation from Hispanics, whole lack of representation from Asians and Middle Eastern people in the league. We have zero problem with that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But again, Lee, for that, there's a general reason of those specific groups that you're talking about, just due to the fact that those groups don't have a large percentage of players. And in other words, only the 1% make it to the NFL. So you have to have a large group, in order to make a dent in the NFL cap. And so if there was a large group of female players or a large group of Middle Eastern players, but there's not. So,
and I want to see someone do a study on this, and it's going to have to do the correlation with the Wonderlic test and NFL coaching. So it's going to have to do with general intelligence going into the work.
I just want to know who named it Wonderlic. Okay.
Yeah, right.
Just okay. All right.
I heard that name came out of Penn State. I don't know where.
Oh yeah, exactly. Boom, 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 boom. Okay. All right, well, guys, let's wrap this up and move it around. Spinksy, start with you. All right. The question was the new Rooney Rule. Yes, no, man. Okay, Nate.
Well, considering the new Rooney Rule is just an adding to something they admit doesn't work, no, academy or bust.
All right, Tom.
I think, you know, I'm there needs to be an adjustment, but giving draft picks for it is not the adjustment.
My take is I want something better. I like Nate's attitude, but you got to have something. So if we're not going to have anything, then this is better than nothing. But damn, more needs to be done. That's my take on it. Well, hey man, let's move on and let's get down. Tom, I thought you had a pretty interesting, not a story, a saga developing for the New York Giants.
I think there are many trilogies that had a lot of drama. You have Star Wars, you got the Christopher Nolan Batman, and this week we have the DeAndre Baker saga. All right. Apparently, episode 1 was DeAndre Baker is playing poker and lost $70,000 in that. Episode 2 is he shows up to a party and 3 hours later apparently robs these people at gunpoint and then leaves with $70,000 worth of material. And the third episode is apparently the people who got robbed and signed affidavits saying that that DeAndre Baker arrested him along with that, and all of a sudden they change their story and say no, we didn't get robbed.
Right.
So this is a unique story to say the least, and I don't know, it's DeAndre Baker and Quentin Dunbar, and this is one of the most unique odd stories because when I first heard this story, I'm like, how stupid is DeAndre Baker? You're going to stay around at a party for 3 hours where everybody knows you, then you're going to stick out a gun and rob them? So it's almost like, how stupid are you? Then when you heard someone's making it up, you're like, okay, I can almost buy that because how stupid can you be? Nate, how do you feel about this?
Well, I think it's a step in the right direction for the New York Giants, considering the fact that he didn't shoot himself in the leg by a former New York Giant, Plaxico Burress. So I think it's a –
and he's still got all of his digits.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So considering it could be much worse for the New York Giants right now. So I mean, it's still so early. I think it's been less than a week this has been out. So it's really going to see what's next. I mean, you probably will find out he did shoot him.
Oh, I actually have, I believe, good inside information. All right. I've got a source down in that area, and what's being talked about on the back channels by law enforcement down there is that, look, they were at a dice game. They were gambling their ass off. Dice cards. I've heard two versions. Somebody was caught cheating. Guns were pulled. Money was divvied up a certain way. They left. Figuring like, hey, we're gambling illegally, da-da-da-da-da. They kind of handled it like a street thing. And then all the shit hits the fan. The cops come in. Now, also, there's the talk that the cops are really strong-arming, like, you know, all right, these are the guys. We want these guys. We want these guys. All right. So basically, the guys' attorneys then come back and re-interview those guys, just like you say. And they're going like, oh, no, that ain't what happened. Fuck, we were all just sitting around drinking cookies in the milk, you know, and then that was it. So, you know, they got it going that way. But just like you say, Tom, it's got a saga because there's going to be another shoe dropping every day, isn't there?
Well, I think the way it's set up, like if you look at it, someone had to be lying at one time. Someone is in the wrong.
Just one?
And some people, and you don't know in this situation. Like if you're a jury, this is something where if DeAndre Baker goes to court, a judge could look at this and be like, we really can't prosecute this.
Yeah.
You know, and it could be a situation where you just get a kick in the butt and they get out free. You know, Spinksy, what do you think about this situation?
I think it's absolutely hilarious, mate. I love it. I just think it's the NFL is just one storyline after the other. This week it was this story. It's still, as Nate was saying, it's still so early. But last week it was Earl Thomas with his brother and his other wife, and it's just the NFL is the gift that keeps on giving every single week. I love it, Tom.
I kind of went and I'm like, all right, so who did the Giants got at cornerback? They signed Bradbury.
They traded up for this guy too. Yeah.
They can move Davis Love over. They got Ballantyne. They got Beal. They're pretty deep in the secondary. And I keep on seeing this stuff and it's just like, and all this horrible stuff came out. Like, oh, he was sleeping during, showing up late to meetings, sleeping during meetings. You know, couldn't remember the playbook, and he was the first round pick, and it's just like.
But there was a big disagreement, and Gettleman was the one that pulled the trigger on to go get him, right?
Yeah.
That's what I always heard.
And it came out, oh, there were character issues and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah.
Hopefully from, you know, a Giant fan, DeAndre Baker looks at this, and this is his wake-up call.
I mean, what is the thought process that is in place when a person can't bean count and go, all right, I got a contract that pays me $4 million this year. This is a $50,000 dice game. Oh yeah, I'm gonna pull the fucking gun.
Oh no, Van! You didn't. No F-bomb.
No F-bombs.
You've upset our YouTube. No!
And I said, Jesus.
Van just corrupted the youth of today.
Oh gosh, it was me again. It was me. All right, it's the old quandary. If a Giants player tells you that all Giants players are liars, do you believe him? Okay.
Yeah, this is one of the situations when you look at all the things that happened in the Giants.
Do you believe this guy?
Giants have a very unique history of very unique incidents happening off the field.
I think this is a bigger threat to Gettleman than a guy that just isn't any good on the field. The Giants do not like this crap. If you don't believe me, just go ask a certain wide receiver in Cleveland.
Right. That is totally true. And I mean, when you do look at that trade, it looks like the Giants made out on that Odell Beckham trade. You know, it's also, you know, they want to change the culture, and this is one where it's like, but you look at it too. The Giants have a very young secondary, and they were talking about if he gets arrested, They can nullify the contract going forward.
Oh yeah. They put some protections in there, I heard as well.
Yep.
But I mean, yeah, you're absolutely right about the OJ trade. Look how much money they're saving on kicking nets now.
Oh, absolutely.
Hey, not every black guy with a gun is OJ.
Oh, that's actually, no, they carry knives. They carry knives. Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. And run through airports. All right. Let's wrap this up. Tom, the DeAndre Baker saga. I mean, is this story just dead and over with, or is this going to be the gift that keeps on giving through the summer?
It's going to be the gift that keeps on giving, because unless the prosecutor drops the case, but I highly doubt it, because you could get a prosecutor that wants to end up on national TV on some TV show and will try to, elevate their stature and use this as this opportunity, or some politician will come forward and say, I'm tough on crime. Look at what I did. And that can be a situation that would arise where someone sees this as their ticket going forward. But this case is very complicated from the start. A group of people did something wrong, and we just don't know who it is.
Well, I don't think it's even necessarily one group of people, okay? It could be both sides. I think the only thing we know for sure here, Tom, is somebody's lying.
Yes, and when were they lying, and why were they lying?
Yeah. What he said. Yeah. All right. Well, we have one topic left on the table for the day. Spinksy, you got kind of an interesting take. I guess this is sort of the post Michael Jordan saga hangover that you're going to talk about here.
Yeah, I think most of the world has liked watching The Last Dance, the last 5 weeks or 6 weeks. Just sort of wondering from you guys, Nate, I'll start with you. What franchise or what team or what era would you like to see Netflix do a documentary on next?
I got two answers for you. One that will satisfy the three of us, and one that will satisfy Tom. One, the world is not ready to see the Dallas Cowboys of the 90s. They aren't. They're not ready to go ahead and see the imaginary tape that went on inside the White House, the house where they had girls over with sex toys and alcohol, drugs, everything. They're not ready to hear about Charles Haley jerking off in team meetings. They're not ready to hear about that. They're not ready to hear about the ego of Jerry Jones getting Jimmy Johnson hiring his old buddy Barry Switzer, who's great. He was fantastic for one-liners, nonstop entertainment in that way. So the rest of the world is not ready to see that. I mean, it would put any kind of a dark twist that was on The Last Dance with the Chicago Bulls. The Cowboys would outdo that by about 50. But to satisfy Tom, what would you think about doing a docu-series about the 1986 Mets if they had actual cameras in that dugout?
Oh, that would be awesome.
I would say, first off, you need to make sure the statute of limitations had passed.
Oh, yeah, seriously.
Because there are some stories, like one story is, there's been some short documentaries, but nothing crazy like that. The 86 Mets are probably, or the Mets of the 80s are probably one of the best dynasties. They were the Braves of the 90s, where they were a great team that only won one championship. Of course, the playoffs were totally different. In the 1980s, you had to win your division. There was no wild cards. The one story that I heard, which was absolutely insane, was the plane ride back when they won the pennant against Houston, which apparently was like a 15-inning game or something like that. They went absolutely ballistic on the plane ride home. And it was like the bill was like from $10,000 to $50,000 worth of damage on a flight from Houston to New York. And, the manager picked it up for it. And there's so many questions. I think Doc Gooden was not at the parade because he was too busy smoking crack. And these are just some things that you look at. You think, and these are some things that are well documented.
Oh, yeah. Back then, sports writers wrote about sports. TMZ was like, what? No, we don't write about that shit. No.
Oh, social media would have totally crushed the 1986 Mets. And it was just all the things they could talk about, how they were deconstructed pretty much, and they never really could do it. They kind of had a Doc and Daryl documentary, but that's kind of one that I think would go.
Yeah, and also you got to talk about they actually got footage along with the team in Chicago. So that means
that's huge.
You would have had to have followed Irvin to the White House. You would have had to see Charles Haley in those team meetings. Oh my God.
That would have been awesome. That would have been awesome. All right, guys, like I hear what you're saying there, and I get that they did Chicago, and they won 6 rings, man. I mean, that's impressive. Now you're talking about the Cowboys making their run in the 90s with the 3 and all that, and then we're talking about the Mets and their incredible run. But you guys don't understand Americans, man. Look, people don't go to watch Evel Knievel jump the canyon. They watch him to fail, man. They don't want to see this. No, we ought to go after the biggest draft bust or team bust in the history of sports. I want to see Ryan Leaf. I want to see Jamarcus Russell out there. I want to see his story. I want to see Rolando McClain doing Purple Dank commercials. I want to see Carson Wentz because, he's going to be up there soon. Okay. Man, that's what I want to see, man. I want to see them go after the Bash Brothers and the steroids baseball era and put it up there. The owners being just total dorks. That's what I want to see. Tom?
I think, Van, your dream is coming true because they're going to have the documentary of Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire in the summer of 1998.
Yes.
So that's going to be an interesting one.
Sammy Sosa, he's horrible.
I kind of got a few choices. One, I would love a follow-up on the deconstruction of the Chicago Bulls and really answer why were they torn apart. Well, Jerry Krause has passed away.
Why do that when you can just dig Jerry Krause up and kill him again? Because I know plenty of fans that would want to do that.
I would say, that would be one documentary I would want to see is almost like how did you deconstruct them? And just imagine being on the Bulls in 1999 when you absolutely suck and everyone's coming after you. A second one I would really like to see, which is very interesting, is the other Phil Jackson dynasty, the Shaq and Kobe Lakers. And just maybe even just Shaq and Kobe and their relationship.
Yeah.
It was here they were, these two
both
superpowers. And it can only work out so much. And they did have a lot of classic games. Their rivalry with the Kings was, I think, one of the last true great NBA rivalries that they had.
There's nothing better than a Lakers-Celtics 7-game series. That's it. That's baseball. Excuse me. That's basketball. That's the NBA to me. Yeah. I know there was a lot of other great series and everything like that, and I acknowledge that. But there's been nothing like a Celtics-Lakers 7-game series. No.
I think it's only a matter of time before we get a Kobe documentary in some form. I think they'll be out there working on that now, and whether that's a Kobe and a Lakers thing or just a Kobe thing, I think that's definitely there. And as Nate was saying about the Cowboys in the early 90s, that was probably mine, but unpopular opinion, I probably want to see a Patriots dynasty 1, 2, just so you can actually see the relationships that they all had, because there's so much conjecture about the relationships between Brady and Belichick, and
too soon.
Too soon, yes. So 5 or 10 years down the track, that's it. Nate?
They have no relationships. That's the truth, because they're all soulless bastards. They have no relationship. They don't shake hands. They don't love each other. They just sit down. They just deconstruct like a bunch of robots that malfunction when they have to socialize with each other.
Yeah, I think another great show a documentary to do would be the worst GMs in the history of sports. Jerry Krause could be on the best and worst.
Yeah.
Because he did put that team together, but then look what he did to it. So
that show would contain Gettleman too.
Yeah, Tom.
I'll tell you this. I'm surprised I didn't think of it till yet. You can definitely do this one: the Yankees-Red Sox rivalry.
Oh, hell yes.
You could you could probably do a 22 episode series on that, on the ups and downs from Babe Ruth.
But now hold on. Why do that when you can just talk about the Red Sox pain, and that's a lot more fun?
Yeah, it is.
They were the seriously, they were the Cubs until they won it. they could not get past you guys. It just it destroyed them. And then
I
finally,
think also too,
yeah,
Theo Epstein should go into the Baseball Hall of Fame. But Nate, how do you feel?
Oh, Theo Epstein. I mean, resurrecting two franchises that were absolutely cursed. But here's the thing. Does anyone here like to get drunk in their spare time and just go watch fans fight on YouTube?
the slap fights, man. Have you seen the Russian slap fights, man?
Oh,
with the dumpling. Oh, those are so good, man.
No, yeah, I like to do that. So if you ever want to see how intense a rivalry is, just look at drunken fans fighting and
drunken fan fighting. That's good. That's good.
Got to do a documentary on that.
If you could get them to wear bikinis, it would be even better. Okay.
Now, is this on ESPN or something else?
YouTube. Yeah.
It's got to be HBO.
Oh yeah, YouTube.
I reckon. I think we could definitely do a 2-part doco series on Eli winning the Super Bowl twice.
Yeah.
That'd be good.
Yeah. You could actually just do Eli Brady Manning. I mean, it's Goliath. I mean, and the little guy right there who just gets him twice.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because you got to make it into like a Forrest Gump, and then he's like, before I knew it, I stepped back and hailed the ball, and he caught it on his head.
Oh man, if I was Eli Manning, I would definitely have a 2-0 versus Brady tattoo that I would put down where people could see it all the time, because you'd want people taking pictures of it and shit.
Yeah, I think too. I might have mentioned it last episode, but they asked Tom Brady, "Are you glad that you're not playing against Peyton Manning?" He's like, "I'm glad I'm not playing against Eli Manning."
Hell yeah!
I mean, and it's so like, it's like Rain Man for NFL quarterbacks. Like this guy.
Yeah,
I don't see him obsessing over it, but I mean, it definitely would have to bother him.
I think he would dig at. You want to know who he would dig at? He wouldn't dig at Brady. He would dig at Peyton.
Oh yeah,
with that brother rivalry, be like, hey, just want to let you know, you had Marvin Harrison, Edwin James, Reggie Wayne, and I had to use David Tyree to beat Brady. And by the way, it was in the Super Bowl twice.
Yeah, twice. Well, that and some duct tape, but okay, well, 2-sided duct tape.
It really bothers me the fact that they only bring up Archie, they only bring up Peyton, they only bring up Eli, but they never bring up the poor mother. I mean, could you imagine giving birth to those 3 melon heads? Oh my goodness, that poor woman's lower extremities, YouTube, must be destroyed by now.
Well, yeah, I'm doing the whole mental image of a melon coming out, and no, it's not. It's not a good picture.
It's not pretty. I've tried.
You can't unsee that. You can't unsee that. Okay, Spinksy's going, I'm trying. No, it's in the head now, mate, isn't it? It's in the head. Okay. All right, well, look, I want to thank everyone for stopping by. This has been another roundtable. I think we've hit our limit here when we're talking about birthing melons. Okay, it's time to move on. All right, definitely Nate has taken over the show here. All right, and as we go around the room, before we do, thank you so much for being here, taking time out of your day. Please be sure to hit that notify button. Hit that subscribe. We really appreciate it. Without you, this doesn't happen. And then as we want to sign off here, Spinksy, talk real quick about the show you're doing, man.
We've got a college football show at 3:00 Pacific time on Saturday. We'll be talking all things college football. Hopefully we have a season coming up soon. So tune in. Check me out on Twitter at Spinksy NFL, and we'll have the link up there for the show. Saturday, 3:00. Can't wait.
All right. And then Nate, I understand that you're going to be, even though I saw you on with Spinksy, I understand you're going to be unveiling the dark side.
I'm unveiling the dark side tomorrow at 3 p.m. But more importantly, if you want to join the millions and millions of No Remorse fans, I'm going to tell you what, I got a little bit of a public service announcement here. Monday afternoon at 3 p.m. Monday. It's the unveiling, the grand opening of Sports TalkLine's unveiling of No Remorse Sports.
It's going to be awesome. I can't wait. I know I'm going to be there one way or another. I'm going to be stalking you, man. All right. And Spinksy, always a pleasure from down under. Mr. McAllister from New York, stay safe, man. I'm always worried about you out there.
Don't worry about it. We're used to being at epicenters of everything.
That's true. You guys are a popular destination spot. What can I say? All right. And again, to everyone out there, thank you so much for being here. Until next time, listen like you play with intensity.